Welcome back, Programming 11. This next video, we're actually going to make the player come alive. We're going to have it moving around on the screen. We're not going to do it in the most simple way possible, though. We're going to do it a little bit more complicated way that will allow all of the objects we're going to create to come alive in a similar fashion. So we're going to do a little bit more work than usual. We could do this. We could make a player object. I'm going to do this right now. I'm going to make a player object. AI. Gonna call it my player, and this is in the main tab, by the way, at the very top. I'll put a game objects. This is a section for game objects. We'll make these game objects here. In my setup, I'll actually go and create the player object. So here's my setup. I'm gonna go to the bottom and say, here's my game object initializing, and I'll say my player equals new player. That's calling the constructor. Wow. Oh, didn't mean to run it. And then I could actually just tell it to act and show. In the game, I could say something like my player dot act, my player dot show. This will work. If I run this, I will see it in there, and I can move it around. Whoa! It moves. So that's fine. But I want a more general solution that will work for all the things in the game. I don't want to have to tell all my bullets.act.show. I don't want to tell all my obstacles and all my enemies and everything else in the game. I want to find a general solution for this. So I'm going to scrap that. I'm going to go back to the main tab. I'm still going to keep the player object. And so that's going to stay the same, but I'm going to make a list that will store all of my game objects. So I'm going to make an array list that holds game object variables called objects. And guess what? Because player, the player class, extends game object, I can put it into this list. And bullets will extend it, and obstacles and enemies will all extend game objects, so they can all go into the same list. That's really powerful. Don't forget that we need to initialize our list, so I'm going to stick that in my setup as well. Here's my setup. Going down here, I'm going to say objects equals new array list game object. Oops. And then I can write a loop that will go through all these things. I guess I still have to add my player to it too. So I'm going to say objects.add my player. So the player is the first thing in the list. Eventually we'll add in bullets and all sorts of stuff, but right now we just got a player. I'm going to go over to the game tab now, and I'm going to program in a loop that will process all of my objects. So I'm going to write that loop. It's going to be a while loop. So how many objects do I have? I'm going to start at object 0 and I go all the way to the last object. But how do you know? Well, you know because you know how many things are in the list, because the list can tell you. Watch this. I can say, well, I is less than objects.size. This is a built-in thing all lists can do. A list can tell you how big it is. So as long as our counting variable is less than that, we'll keep on processing the objects. Don't forget to go I++. That's going to be really important. That means go to the next object. This means start at the first object. This means keep going as long as there's objects. So the next thing I'm going to do is tell or get an object. So I'm going to say game object. I don't have a great name for this variable because this will eventually represent. Right now there's only a player, right? But eventually there will be bullets and enemies and all this kind of stuff. And this variable here is going to represent all of those different things. So I'm just going to call it obj, obj. Obj is kind of a standard variable name for a generic object. And I'm going to go objects.getI. Excuse me. So at first we'll get object 0. And then if there was more, we'd then get object 1, object 2, object 3. And each time through the list, we'll call it obj. We'll tell obj to show and obj to act. So if I was to run this now, it will work. If I run, our player will be in there. So that's working nicely. So why did I go with all this trouble again? So remember, the important thing is now I can add in other objects like bullets, and they will automatically start working. Let's go do that right. Oh no, I guess we can't really do it right now. I think we've probably done enough for one day. I don't want to overload people, so I think it's a good place to stop. We have the framework set up. We clearly a player moves. We have the framework, which is sort of three parts. It's the game object itself, the superclass. We have some kind of subclass that actually does something that extends it, and then we have this array list and a loop that coordinates the array list. I think that all this structure will start looking more interesting as we make more game objects. We'll get more value out of it the more objects we make. If we just made a player, it's kind of a bit of overkill. If that was all we were going to have, this is totally not necessary. But it's not. And I think you will see as we go forward, and I challenge you to watch to see how valuable the game object class is and this array list processing is as we add in more objects. Next video I'm going to do is going to be the bullet video. So I'll throw in bullets, and we'll also see how we can remove things from a list. That's going to be really powerful too. And we'll be able to create and destroy objects while the game is running, which is super, super useful. Okay, thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you're following along, and feel free to put any questions in the discussion tab in Teams. Okay, bye-bye.